All right, hey. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Megs, and I am hiking the PCT this year. So the PCT is a 2,650-mile trail that goes from the border of Mexico to the border of Canada through California, Oregon, and Washington. There are, some folks that I know that kind of want to know what I'm doing, so I thought I would make a gear video for those people and anybody else who might be interested in this kind of thing. So first thing I thought I'd talk about would be my big three. So your big three and any sort of backpacking stuff is your backpack, your tent or sleep system, your tent or hammock, shelter, whichever system that you use, and also your sleep system. So I've got my sleep system pulled out here first. So I thought I'd go over that first just because it's kind of bulky and I want to get it out of the way. Also, I am in my shop because I am headed out in about a week and I have some house projects to finish up before I leave that I promised I would finish up. So seems like a good place as any to do it right now while I wait for finish to dry. So first off, I guess we'll talk about my quilt. So I'm using a quilt. This is not a sleeping bag per se. This doesn't, the difference between a quilt and a sleeping bag being that a quilt does not have a bottom. So this more or less just lays over you like a quilt. This particular one is the Katabatic Flex 22, so it's comfort rated down to about 22 degrees. It has the zippered foot box, which means at any point if I get too hot or just don't feel like using it kind of all bundled up, I can unzip this foot box, uncinch the bottom here, and just kind of use it as like a regular blanket as you would at home. The other thing with quilts in this particular quilt that I really like is the pad attachment system. So my sleeping pad that I have is the Nemo Tensor insulated. It's not the newest version. I've had this one for a couple of years, but I really like it. I find it very comfortable. Both of my sleeping pad and my sleeping quilt are wide versions. I'm not an exceptionally huge person. I'm 5'9", about, normal-ish weight. But what I would like about having the wide is that I tend to be a bit of a rotisserie sleeper, as I'm told. So I'm very kind of all over the place. So I like having a little bit of extra room in here. Doesn't necessarily mean that you get all of the warmth out of it, because how this warmth works is that your body heat warms up the air within the quilt itself, but I don't really have a problem with it. I've taken this down to about 23 degrees in just, a pair of base layers and have been perfectly fine and warm, so I'm not really worried about it. But I did unroll this purely because I've made a couple of modifications to things. I tend to do that. I'm a bit of a tinkerer. So I do not like the traditional pad straps that go around your sleeping pad, and then you attach your quilt to them to kind of keep the drafts from coming through. Mostly just because I find it to be a pain to remember to put them on, get them in the right spot, and all that stuff when you're tired at the end of the day. So what I have done is I've taken a couple of little Dyneema patches with some of these hooks on them, and I have also added a little bit of shock cord and some mitten clips to my quilt so that I can just clip it right to here. This still just stays nice and tucked underneath me, and I don't get drafts out of it, and I just honestly find it much easier to get comfortable with, and to also, if I get hot in the night, I can unclip it and it's easier for me. It's just something that I like. It's something that I've done. I don't know that I've seen anybody else do this, but it works for me. I've had it like this for a couple years now, and I like it. It works. I try to be pretty lightweight with my stuff, but I don't consider myself an ultra lighter. I'm not in that sub 10 pound base weight, due to things like my wide quilt, my wide sleeping pad, the fact that I do have a pretty decent size inflatable pad that is pretty comfortable. I carry things like a pillow. This is the Nemo Philo Elite. Again, I've put a little shot cord around this just so that I can put that around the top of my sleeping pad and have it keep it in place a little bit more, just because these things are inflatable and they tend to want to run away from you throughout the night. So I really like this, and I've had, again, this for a couple years now, and I like it. It's very comfortable. I do tend to also put any extra clothes that I have in a buff and stuff that full of clothes, just so that, you know, if I want to put something between my knees at night, or if I just want like a little bit of extra height while I'm either, you know, reading something or, you know, screwing around in the tent at night, just to kind of be a little bit more comfortable that way. And, you know, you might as well use it. So yeah, so that's my pillow. A couple other things I do carry for my sleep system. I do also have one of these little Gossamer Gear 1/8 inch foam pads. This is not necessarily something I use as a sleeping pad all the time, but what I do with this is I put it under my pad. It gives my pad a little protection from spiky, thorny things coming up through and popping my pad. It is a bit of a redundancy in case something happens to my pad, so I'm not going to be directly on the ground. It also works as like a sit pad during the day, so I have something to kind of sit on, so I'm not directly on the ground as well. One other thing I'll call out is this white sheet under here is actually just a piece of Tyvek home wrap. So this is another thing that, you know, I can use to put on the ground and keep myself directly off the ground. It works really well if you are cowboy camping, to put this under your sleep system to keep you know, thorns, stuff, you know, from popping your pad, and just gives you a place to kind of put your stuff at night. I also use this as a footprint to my tent, so, which is, I would say, a pretty good segue into my tent. My tent that I have is the Durston Axmid Pro 2. I love this tent. My only gripe about it is kind of just how big the footprint is. It is a 2-person tent. I got a 2-person tent purely because I like to have the room. The 2-person versus the 1-person tent was maybe about an ounce heavier than the single-person version. This is the Pro version, so it's Dyneema with the Dyneema floor. And I've used this for a couple years now up here in the White Mountains, and I really like it. I've heard some people don't like pitching it on tent platforms, but I've never had a problem with it. I think it works really great. It is a trekking pole tent, so this is it. There are no additional poles to go with it. It's a great tent, super roomy, and super storm worthy. You get it pitched right, and it's good to go. As far as my stakes go, it's the only other thing I carry for my stakes. I do carry 8 stakes. I carry 4 of the full-size groundhogs, and then I carry 4 little titanium shepherd hook stakes, because these are a little bit lighter than these, and, you know, like I said, I'm not ultra light, but I'm going to shave weight where I can to be more comfortable. I also carry 4 lengths of guy line. I carry 2 long ones and 2 shorter ones, just in case there's any strong winds that you need to guide things out pretty tightly down. So again, I've had this out in winds probably between 40-50 miles an hour. Even when I was pitched on a tent platform, I've never had this blow down. It's been super storm worthy. I couldn't really be more happy with it in that sense. When you say things like you're going to talk about your big 3, which being your sleep system, shelter, and pack, you should probably talk about your pack too. So my pack that I'm carrying is also a Durston product. So Durston is a great cottage gear company. They make ultralight backpacking gear, and I am carrying the Durston Kakwa 55. This thing is super lightweight. It's super comfortable. It is a framed pack. It is a 55-liter pack, and you know, I really like it. I like the volume, it works really well for me. I really like the outer mesh pocket. This is another thing that I have made some modifications to. I did put some additional shot cord just because when you're doing hiker trash laundry, sometimes you want to hang your socks up on your pack, let them dry out for the day. I pulled a little piece of shot cord with this little clip on it from my running vest to help secure my ice axe for when I need it through the Sierra, and also just helps, kind of gives me another attachment point for my trekking poles. This is a great pack. I like it. I like the fact that it's got the pockets for your shoulder pockets. I can put I usually put a water bottle in one and a small Nalgene in the other. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. I like the hip belts. It gives me, you know, access to any of my little things that I want to have on me throughout the day. My general system of packing is anything that I won't need during the day goes in the main body of the pack, and then I try to kind of keep everything else on the outside just so that I have it pretty accessible. Anything that I want while I'm moving, I keep on the front of me or in the side water bottle pockets that I can reach as I'm moving. Anything else can kind of be stashed in the back pocket that I would have to take my pack off to use anyway. So that's kind of my system of packing with this pack. Again, I really like it and pretty excited to use it. So that's actually the last of my big three, and maybe I'll get into clothing next. All right, so let's talk clothes. I feel like for an average thru hiker, I probably have a little bit more than most. That is because I do not like being cold. I don't like it. I am starting in the desert. The daytime will be hot, but the nights will be potentially pretty cold, especially in the beginning. So I have a few extra things for the beginning. I can send them home as I want. I also will probably want them back when I hit the Sierra, being that there will still be plenty of snow in the Sierra. So, but for the basics of what I'm starting with, I'll start with footwear because I get a lot of questions about that. My personal footwear of choice is Topos. I've tried most of the Topos, any of the ones anyways that have a little bit of a drop to them. It's usually a 5mm drop. I like Ultras, but long-term Ultras and the zero drop doesn't work for me. But these are the Topo Traverse. I really like these. They have a little bit firmer sole because they have a rock plate underneath them. They have the Vibram Mega Grip, which I actually like a lot better than whatever Ultra uses. And they're just really comfortable. I buy the men's because I buy the men's most things. So and they fit me. These work really, really well. I've been wearing these now for a year or two in different pairs of them in my hiking, and I really like them. I do have a pair of Dirty Girl Gaiters. These I bought, the ones with the little pinup girls on them, because I like girls. So I went with those. And for socks, I'm a big fan of the Injinji toe socks. These are really great for preventing blisters. The toe socks just keep your toes from rubbing together. I won't probably wear them all the time. I do tend to get further into a hiking season and then decide that I don't really want or need these anymore. But I will start out with them. I have 2 pairs, and then to go with them, the Darn Tough, I think these are the Quarter Crow. I like these. They're just awesome. Pretty much they're a staple of most thru hikers or any hikers in general. They're merino wool. They tend to stink less, but you know, dirty hiker trash that's showering once a week, everything stinks. But I really like these. They also have the lifetime guarantee. You get a hole in them, send them back, they'll give you a new pair. I have 2 of these. My other pair is in the wash because I wore them. And that was pretty much it for my shoes and footwear. Next thing I'll get into is maybe my just day-to-day, what am I going to be wearing. So I have a pair of Patagonia just running shorts that I really like. They're super lightweight. dry quick. It's pretty much all you really need. They're shorts. I don't like the ones with the zippers in the back. I kind of find that my pack gets bothered by them. I do like having zippers on my front pockets to keep my crap in them, obviously. And I like having a back pocket just to throw my wallet in while I'm in town or doing anything else like that. They're great for that. So, but they're just black Patagonia running shorts. So nothing anybody really needs anything special for. My shirt for day-to-day is the Evolve Supply Company sun hoodie. I like the fact that it's got a zipper on it. I like the fact that it's wool, so it will stink less. I don't expect to make this make it through the entire trail with me. I've had this now for, I don't know, 6-8 months, but I've been hiking in it pretty regularly. There are some spots where it's probably pilling, so I don't see that it's probably going to last the whole trail. Mostly around the shoulders and where my pack rubs against it. But for the most part, I really like it. It's super soft, super comfortable, and keeps the sun off of me. I'm not a huge fan of wearing sunscreen. I'm gonna have to wear plenty of it, but the less I have to, the more I appreciate that. I said that I hate being cold, so I do have a couple of additional layers. Some are things that I think pretty much everybody should be carrying on any backpacking trip in general, depending on how hot it is. But for the most part, it's just kind of what I have and what I like for this range of temperatures for this long of a time. Everything I have I find works really well as a system and keeps me warm while moving down to about 15-20 degrees, so I'm not worried about that. And with my quilt, I can get into that and layer it up, and I can be fine till probably about 10 degrees, but very comfortable otherwise, which I don't suspect I'll be getting that cold. My next thing that I would show you is my Sandbob hoodie. This is one that Nick had made for me, custom. Sandbob's a local company here in Portland, so obviously I was going to order from them because, Amazon sucks. So my wife designed this one for me, had it made for me for Christmas this year, and I really like it. It's the Octa fleece. I know a lot of people really like the Alpha. I do have Alpha pants, but I really like the Octa. I'm not sure if it actually is more durable than the Alpha, but I tend to feel like it is. And some of the Alpha I don't really like the feel of. It gives me that kind of microfiber ick. So any like the 60 and 90 weight. But this doesn't. This is not my first Octa hoodie, but it's my favorite because Nick had it made for me, and it's a local company, and they're super awesome. So that is my hoodie. What I really like about this hoodie is it actually goes really well with my cheapo, after I said Amazon sucks, my cheapo Amazon windbreaker. The combination of this and this with just a light sun hoodie as a base layer, I'm quite comfortable with pants on if I'm hiking in the winter down to 15 degrees. As long as I'm staying active, I can dump heat pretty well. This wicks the sweat away so I don't get too cold that way, and as long as I'm keeping the wind out of me, I'm gonna stay really, really warm. But combining just a wind shell and a sun hoodie is great for the mornings when it's a little cool, getting going. And then with this, it gets me down to pretty much whatever I would be hiking in and staying active. And then beyond that, if it's really friggin' cold or I'm sitting in camp and not moving around a whole lot, I have my puffy jacket, which is the Enlightened Equipment Torrid jacket. What I like about this is it's super lightweight, but it's also a synthetic jacket. So unlike down, if it gets wet, this is still going to keep me warm. So it's just better that way. And for something that's probably not going to be active insulation, I don't usually wear this when I'm moving, but unless, you know, I get to a summit and it's just really cold, I don't usually put this on when I'm moving. Maybe once in a while if it's really cold out and I'm coming back downhill. But I really like this. It's super comfortable. These don't normally come with these little zipper toggles. So in my anti-ultralight fervor, I put some little toggles on them just because if your hands are cold, you know, screwing around with these tiny little zippers, I don't like it. So I added those so, you know, the ultralight gods can smite me as they see well. So that is my jacket system for my upper body. For my, I'll call it my sleep system, and kind of if I ever really get cold in the morning, under my shorts I have just a basic base layer. These are very lightweight, they're not super insulating, but just something I can throw under my shorts and hike in just for some tights. If it's really cold in the morning, I don't foresee that happening a whole lot, but it's nice to have. I have just to sleep in, just a smart wool t-shirt. Again, it's the wool. I prefer to try to have something that fends off the stink as much as I can. I know it's never gonna happen, but you know, wishful thinking. So just a little smart wool t-shirt to sleep in. And also I can get cold enough, I can sleep in anything else I've got too. This is, I think, probably the only thing I think most through hikers might not carry, but again, I just like to have a little additional extra layer just to sit around and camp in, mostly because I like to change as soon as I get to camp into something that's dry, even if it's not raining. You know, just letting the sweat from the previous day dry off and pretend like I'm letting things air out, and so that they won't smell as bad the next day. These are a pair of Alpha joggers from Magnet Designs. I think they're a Washington company. They're super warm. They, you know, so if it's really, really cold sleeping, these are going to be great. They're kind of just a little sweatpants. They're the 120 weight, so they don't quite give me the ick like the lighter weight ones do. Also, given that they're pants, Alpha can tend to be a bit see-through, but the 120 is less see-through than others, than the lighter weights. So, you know, nobody wants to see this. So these are my kind of sleep pants, cold weather pants, sitting around at camp pants. These are not something I'm sure I'll keep the entire way, but you know, I'll start out with them and I'll probably end up in the Sierra with them because those are probably going to be the times where it might be the coldest. And depending on how slow I am, if I hit Washington late September, may want them back around then as well. Some other couple of things I'm carrying with me. I have an alpaca sports bra because technically I do have boobs. And, you know, nobody wants to see that. Plus, you know, something good to swim in, sit around in if it gets too hot, you know. That's what you have. I do have a couple of extra little random things. I've mentioned the buff before. My pants, 9 times out of 10, will probably end up stuffed into this buff to make a new pillow, just to have some extra comfort for sleeping. One of the things I really value is my sleep, hence my giant sleeping pad and quilt. I have a pair of super ultralight possum down mittens. I don't think I'll probably ever wear these, but they'll stay in the pocket of my puffy jacket. I have a little Alpha beanie because, again, I might sleep in this. My quilt doesn't have a hood, but I can put my hat on, pull a hood up over with one of my hoodies, and be perfectly fine down to the comfort rating of my quilt. And I also have one more pair of socks just for sleeping. These are a pair of Alpha socks. Again, they're super lightweight. They weigh, you know, probably less than an ounce, I think. And these are mostly just to keep the dirty thru-hiker feet from ruining my expensive quilt. So I have these to go along just to sleep in. So I won't ever hike in these. That's pretty much it on the clothing side. Actually, no, it's not. I'm lying once again. The only other couple things that I have a pair of shower shoes because, well, I don't want to shower without them with a bunch of dirty hikers at campgrounds and other places. I think athlete's foot might be the most miserable thing. Probably not the most miserable, but it's not going to be fun. So, shower shoes. I do have a rain jacket and rain pants. Rain jacket is it's a Light Heart Gear Sil Poly rain jacket, which means that, you know, all the Gore-Tex stuff and everything else is waterproof, breathable. It's neither waterproof nor breathable in most cases, and they do eventually tend to wet out. So I don't really want that. I like the Sil Poly purely because this is never going to have the water soak through it. But what it does mean is you have to be really careful about managing your heat directly and mechanically. So it's got really big pit zips, so if you get hot, you can dump heat that way. And it's really windproof. So if I ever need to entirely layer up, I think I'm pretty well covered for all situations. And then I do have a pair of rain pants as well. These are not the same waterproof breathable. These are just the Z-Packs Virtus rain pants. They're just about as lightweight as you can come. Honestly, if it's probably raining and it's warm out, I'm probably never going to put these on in the first place. I'll use these mostly as like a wind pant. I do have some of the dance pants, which a lot of people use for wind pants, but these are actually lighter than those, so I'm going to bring these instead. That is actually all of what I've got for my clothing system. Next, I think I'll talk about my food and water setup and what I'm bringing for that. Food-wise, this is my food bag. It is a bag in which I will keep my food. I don't remember where I got it, or I got it from probably Garage Grown Gears. I don't remember what the brand is, but it works well. It's zippered. It's got a little waterproof zipper on it. It's great. Works out just fine. I've been packing up my first few days worth to try to get a feel for how it's all going to be in my pack. I won't show you all of that, but that is about 3 days worth. So probably about 6 pounds of food. And then the other thing I keep in my food bag other than my food is my spoon. It's just a titanium spoon. They make the ones without the polished bowl, but I cannot stand the way they sound on the bottom of my pot. So don't like the mouth feel, because if you know, you know. So speaking of pot, this is my pot. It is a Totes Titanium 750 milliliter pot. It's got a little lid, and that is it. This is all I'm really carrying. Anybody who knows me in the first place knows that I'm not a huge cook in the first place, so this is all I need. I think it's probably all I will really use. Did make a little koozie for this, just out of some insulation left from my garage door from a couple years ago, with just some Flexite tape around it. Basically, this is the only thing I've got. I can set it in here. I can hold on to it, eat out of it without it burning my hands. And then there's just a little lid to go with it. My stove is just the little BRS 3000 stove that screws right on top of a gas tank, which mine are all empty right now, so I don't have one and won't get one until I get to California. But that's pretty much it. Got a little scrubby pad, just in case I need to scrub it out. But for the most part, I will just boil water in this and not really have anything else. This is my entire kitchen for the most part. That's it. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not really a cold soaker, but I have the option to do so because I do like to carry just a little Nalgene bottle. This is one of the Triton ones. Again, if it gets cold at night, boil some water, throw it in this, stuff it in a sock, throw it in your quilt, keep you extra warm. It's like a little furnace. And then you have water for the night if you need it. Can cold soak things like couscous, ramen, those kinds of things in this as you walk. It works great for that too. Most people don't like to carry Nalgenes, but I find that this size is really, really handy for me anyways. So I like it, so I'm gonna bring it. It's for water. Don't drink the water without treating it, unless you really like pooping a lot. So I wouldn't recommend that. My water system that I have is the 2-liter Vecto bag from Canuck. Again, modified this a little bit as well, just because with this Sawyer filter, the Sawyer Squeeze, the full-size one, when you scoop your water out of wherever you're getting it from this end, I can screw this on this end. If there's a tree or branch or anything else, I can hang this, and then with this little blue coupler here, I can fit this onto a smart water bottle, and then I can kind of just chill for a little bit instead of having to squeeze this all the way through. It works great, it's fine. I like the Sawyer over some of the other ones that I've used just because I think Sawyer's a really good company. They do a lot for developing nations and places that don't have great access to water. So I'm gonna kind of go with this. Plus, the Sawyers, you can back flush really easily. So if you ever find yourself on a water spigot, like your house, this coupler will screw right onto there. You can back flush all the crap and gunk that it does filter out of it, so you can kind of keep using it. So it gives it a much longer lifespan, as long as you don't let it freeze or something overnight. So I really like this, been using it for a while now, and I don't see myself going to anything else. And definitely not back to the old pump systems. So this is kind of my water system. My 2-liter water bag combined with 2 1-liter smart water bottles, and this is goes on my front shoulder strap. This gives me almost 6 liters of carry. And then if you even add that on, I've got a little bit more than that. I don't anticipate needing that much, but it's kind of one of those better to need it and have it, not need it, and then need it, not have it sort of situations, especially in the desert where a lot of times there are water caches for longer stretches, but best not to rely entirely on them. So that is my kind of thought on my food and water. I try to keep it pretty simple. I don't need a giant pot, cook set, or anything else like that. I'm probably going to mostly just be eating the good old staples of hiker trash, ramen, mashed potatoes, tortillas, and whatever I can find. Hoping more in California because I can't find them in Maine. The freeze-dried refried beans or the dehydrated refried beans, throw them in with some minute rice in the Nalgene, let them soak for a little bit, and throw them on a tortilla with some hot sauce. A little bean and cheese burrito, and I love a burrito. Next, we'll talk about just kind of some of the other stuff. So I do have a bunch of hygiene stuff. By say a bunch, I mean a very minimal amount. And just some other things that I'm going to have with me to kind of round everything out. Okay, so we have gotten to all the other stuff, which there's still not a ton left here, but I am bringing it, so I'll tell you what it is. This little guy here is just a little thermometer. I like it. It tells you obviously the temperature that it is, but it also will tell you the high and low for the last 24 hours. So I find this helpful when it's really cold to know how comfortable you slept in certain situations with certain layers on. So just kind of good for more data gathering type stuff. This is my first aid kit. I just have a little Dyneema bag that Nick helped me make. There's not a ton in here. I do have some Diamox, which is for altitude sickness, that I got from my PCP just as a just in case measure. I hike out east, so closest big mountain that we have is Mount Washington in New Hampshire, and I don't think I'm going to be risking altitude sickness there. As far as any medications goes, the only thing I'm really taking, I think the most important thing in my mind is the Imodium. Thankfully, I had a pretty solid constitution with that, but I've had experiences in which I've needed this on trail before during backpacking trips, and it was not fun, so I always make sure that I have some. Obviously, ibuprofen, things gonna hurt. So a couple of little allergy pills, a couple of caffeine pills, and some Gas X, because sometimes I just have gas pains. It hurts. So again, I have like 2 of those. Nothing crazy there. As far as actual first aid type things, I have just basically a few Band-Aids, a few alcohol swabs, a couple of pieces of Tegaderm, a couple of little blister pads that I think work pretty well. But probably the most important thing is my Leukotape. This is just, you put it over any hot spots, anything else like that, and it basically, protects your blisters, keeps you from getting blisters. This stuff is really, really awesome. I do not hike without that ever. So that is my first aid kit. Definitely not going to get me out of any major oh shit situations, but it is what it is. It's mostly cuts and bruises. Anything that's going to be far worse than that, I am probably going to have to use other means of self-rescue or self-initiated rescue from other people. So that is my first aid kit. Actually, the other thing I do have in here is just some Benadryl anti-itch spray. I know in the beginning there's a little bit of poison oak around and things like that, so I'd rather try to keep that at bay if I can. Other things that I've got, so just a little repair kit for myself as I go. Got a little bit of needle and thread in here so I can pretend like I can sew. I've got a couple extra O-rings for my Sawyer squeeze, a couple of pieces of tenacious tape, a patch kit for my sleeping pad, some DCF patches for my tent if I need, and a couple of patches for the mesh for my tent if I need. And let's see, what next? Let's talk hygiene or lack thereof. Yeah, okay. I remember where I put that. Didn't take it out of here. So, hygiene kits. There's not a whole lot going on in here, if I'm being entirely honest. Menstrual cup, because I am still an owner-operator of a working uterus. Well, in theory it's working. I don't actually know. Some flossers, because oral health is important. Cotton swabs, because I really just don't like my ears being dirty. I think it's gross. I hate the way it feels. Earplugs, because people snore. Toothpaste tablets. I like these better than carrying the little travel side toothpastes, just because I can kind of dose them out exactly as much as I need. And I just like them. Some little powdered camp soap. Once in a while if I ever need it. It's probably not going to honestly be used all that often. Just try to follow the leave no trace principles. Toothbrush, little folding guy. I don't like those little backpacking toothbrushes because the last thing I really want to do is be sticking my hands in my mouth when they're disgusting. I do wash my hands, but you know, norovirus is a thing, so not sticking your hands in your mouth is always probably the best idea. And a little thing of Vaseline, just because it's always a good thing to have, and I like to put it on my lips before I go to bed at night. It's just a habit, and I don't think I can break it, to be honest. And it weighs like nothing, so I don't care, and it's got more than one use. So that is my kind of basic hygiene kit. I'll add a couple of other little things, and I'll talk about the other stuff in a minute. So other couple of little hygiene type things. I have a couple of these little towels. They're just, you know, little washcloth size ones. I use these. I like to try to, you know, wipe off a little bit, you know, at night before bed, just to kind of not be so disgusting. I have different colors. I have one for my face, and I have one for everywhere else, and do the best I can to not mix those up. I have a little light load towel here. This is just kind of one of those compressed towels. Slightly bigger than that, mostly for if I need to go take a shower at a campground, something like that. They don't often have towels available. And again, these are little dinky ones. They work perfectly fine. I've been using them for quite a while now. I think it's technically disposable, but they last quite a while. Let's see, I have just a little piece of Swedish cloth. This is one that I just cut it into quarters, mostly just to kind of wipe down condensation from the inside of my tent. If it happens to happen overnight, and just so I'm not putting away a wet tent and carrying extra water weight, and you know, it's handy to have. Let's see, let's talk about the comings and the goings. Mostly the goings. This is my shit kit, as we'll say. It's not a whole lot in here. I have a trowel for digging cat holes, because sometimes you gotta shit in the woods or in the desert. You gotta shit. It happens. So you dig a hole, poop in the hole, bury your poops. 6 to 8 inches, keep it, you know, deep enough. As far as I'm not a huge toilet paper fan, and I say that realizing that I haven't told you that I do have an alternative of cleaning myself, and that is one of these little bidets. It is a little travel bidet. It screws onto the top of a water bottle and becomes a bidet. I personally like it better than toilet paper because, one, I don't want to pack out toilet paper. That seems gross. And this, I can actually screw on the top of my water bottle, clean everything up, and kind of move along with my day. Also, keep a little extra thing of soap in here, because if you can't wash your entire body and you've already dug a cat hole, sometimes at least cleaning up the undercarriage is the best you can do, and it goes a long way to making you feel a little bit better when you've been out for a few days. Again, that's just me. That's the system that I like to use. It works for me. I carry one singular tampon, even though I have my menstrual cup that I primarily use. But there was something that I accidentally did a little while ago that made me realize I should have an alternative in case, say, I drop that somewhere. So I have that until I can clean the menstrual cup out with soap and water, or, you know, and then after that, it's silicone, you boil it to sanitize it. So that is my shit kit, but you still gotta pee. And again, owner-operator of a vulva, you have a little system that I think works for me. This is just a little Dyneema bag, and then a P style. It's a P funnel, basically. Goes like that. Push it back till you feel kind of your butt cheeks. You'll know when you feel them. Go, and it's a funnel. It works for me because you don't have to take off your pack. I don't have to really even stop. It just is the easiest way of doing things. You know, like going and finding, peeling off the trail far enough, and you know, squatting. Nobody wants your bare ass out. And then I also have this piss off rag, cooler cloth, whatever you want to call them, that I use as kind of a pee only toilet paper. These work great. I actually keep this clipped to the side strap of my pack. And then, like I said, I don't really have to stop, take off my pack. I just kind of move my fanny pack around to the side, and this works great. Never had a problem. I've never had anything go rogue on me. It's great. You know, I'll keep using this for probably forever. Next thing I think I'll talk about is just some electronic stuff, because we do live in the 21st century, and you know, we are all chronically online, and why would being on the PCT being any different? So first thing, I do have a Garmin InReach Mini 2, just to make sure that I have a means of communicating back to home when I want and need to, even if I don't have cell service. This is also a backup to my iPhone 16 Pro, which is my primary means of navigation through using the Far Out app. But with my Garmin, I do have also the navigation abilities on there. I also am taking the Garmin Fenix Pro 7 Solar, whatever model it is, with maybe, as it also has maps downloaded to it. So I do have 3 different means of navigation, and I am not carrying any sort of paper maps because I don't need them. I think it's going to be pretty well. I'll be able to find out where I need to go pretty easily. Some other means of charging all of these electronics. I do have a little 10,000 milliamp hour battery. I think this is one of those little Victomax. I didn't bother with any of the carbon fiber ones or anything else like that. This is maybe like an ounce lighter, but it's like $80. Not maybe not $80, but like 40 or $50 cheaper. I have a couple of USB-C to USB-C cables, because I can charge from this to this, charge from my block, my charging block, which is just a 40 watt foldable charging block. I think it's one of the Moken ones. I just like that it's small and the prongs fold. So I can USB-C, I have the USB-C out, 2 ports here. I can charge this. My phone is USB-C. This is USB-C. The only things that are not USB-C are my Shocks headphones. They have their own proprietary charger, which is really annoying. Same thing with my Garmin watch, but I do have 2 little just adapters. I'm not carrying an entire separate cord for these. Other electronics that I have are I do have a pair of wired headphones, because I chronically have to listen to something to fall asleep. Maybe I'll get over that. Probably not. I also have my headlamp. It's just the little Nightcore NU25. I like it. It's light. It's bright enough. Battery lasts a long time. I've used it on a number of hiking or backpacking trips and adventure races, and it's great. My little piece of bouginess is my little Flextail Zero pump, whatever the hell it's called. But this is to inflate my sleeping pad. It's just a little pump. I was super excited when this came out, and then it took for absolute ever to get there. or to get to me. So I've been kind of annoyed just by that, but it works fine. It's not going to blow up your sleeping pad incredibly firm, but for the most part, I don't keep mine really blowing up firm unless it's going to be really cold, because that's when the insulation works best on them. But yeah, it's great. It's a little thing to have. It's also got a little battery in here that charges with USB-C. So again, not another adapter, or plug, or cord that I need. So this all goes in my little, just a little UCF bag. And then that gets tossed in my pack. My headphones stay in my fanny pack, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But I do have one, I wouldn't say controversial, but people have their opinions on it. I am bringing a little solar panel. Being that I live out east and hike in New Hampshire and Maine for the most part, this is absolutely useless here. But in the desert, I'm hoping that it actually works pretty well. I would say it's actually useless. I've used this to charge my power bank at home, and even just sticking it in a window, I figure if it does even remotely decently in Maine on a relatively sunny day, being in the desert, it's going to work pretty well. I've rigged this so that I can attach it quickly and easily to my pack. It weighs basically nothing, and more or less doing the math on it, I kind of figured as long as I can get probably a 25% charge into this a day, which I don't feel like I'm gonna have a problem with at all, then it makes carrying just one of these and the solar panel worth it by weight versus carrying more than one power bank. And I have actually taken this with me on a couple of work trips to California, stuck it in the window of the hotel room, and it's, you know, gotten me more than that for just kind of a day of not without any sort of ideal conditions. So I'm pretty confident in at least starting with this to make sure that I have power for my phone, my satellite messenger, and all my other crap that I have. I think this will do pretty well. If it doesn't, I'll get another power bank. No big deal. And the last few little things that I have are, it's basically my fanny pack. Just a little Hyperlite mountain gear fanny pack. I am carrying some serious weaponry here, so watch out. This is, you know, just saying, don't fuck with me. I can neck you pretty good. So it's just a little pocket knife, a little Swiss Army knife. It's got a nail file, nail clippers on it because, you know, take care of your feet, some scissors. This is honestly going to be mostly for opening snacks more than anything. Sunscreen, because it's the desert, and my pasty Maine skin is going to need it quite a bit. Sunscreen, chapstick. I have a little mini Bic lighter for lighting my stove. Hand sanitizer, because don't be gross. And some sunglasses. Other than that, pretty much what I carry in here is just a little wallet, carry my credit cards, license, that kind of stuff. One thing make sure to always do before getting in a car at a trailhead or anything else like that, if you're hitching or getting a ride from, you know, Trail Angel in town, is to take my wallet and everything out of my fanny pack. My wallet, my satellite messenger, my phone, all of that goes on my person in my shorts. And just make sure that for some reason, you know, if somebody decides to have you throw your pack in the back of their truck and then your pack gets a ride but you don't, you still at least have your wallet, phone, satellite messenger, those kinds of things. Other than that, in my fanny pack, what I really just tend to keep in here is I do keep my little hygiene kit in here because I like to have quick access to some soap if I need it, but mostly because I like to brush my teeth on the move. sometimes at campsites, you know, everybody's doing it and spitting toothpaste, and I kind of feel like it's probably better to like spread that out a little bit. So I do keep that in here, but this is otherwise just basically dedicated to snacks, and I keep whatever snacks I want on the move for the day in my fanny pack, and then I can reach things and have everything as I need on the go. The last couple of things I have are just something for at camp. I have a little cork ball, just kind of roll out your feet, any muscles that need some attention from the day of hiking, just to help kind of recovery a little bit. Again, I'm not a kid, so trying to make sure I take care of those kinds of things so that any little niggles along the way don't become injuries. Last thing, so I do have also just a pack liner. I'm not a huge fan of having, you know, a million different stuff sacks, you know, for my quilt, my clothes, you know, all that other stuff. I like to just keep everything, just toss everything in this one waterproof liner. My pack is pretty waterproof, but you know, you're keeping your quilt and your sleep clothes dry is kind of an absolute, that is a non-negotiable. So I have some redundancy in my DCF pack liner. This is just one that I made because I was not going to spend $80 on one when I just had a little bit of extra that I made from when I was making some of these other little bags that I've got. So that is my pack liner. The last things are things I won't have all of the time, but well, I will have my trekking poles all the time because that's how my tent gets set up. So I have my trekking poles. They're just a Black Diamond Alpine carbon cork. I've had these for a few years. They're fine. They're trekking poles. But in the Sierra, there will be snow. So I do have my Camp Corsa ice axe. This isn't necessarily for climbing. This is more for self-arrest. If you happen to go take a slide and get going pretty quick down a big ass mountain, it's a good idea to be able to have some kind of means of stopping yourself. But before you get that far, it's probably good to have something that keeps you from falling in the first place. So I have my micro spikes that I will have sent to me in Idlewild for San Jacinto as my first kind of big peak where I know there's probably going to be snow. I'll drop those off there before I hit the trail, and then with my ice axe, and then in Kennedy Meadows before the start of the Sierra, I will have those sent back to me up there, and then I will also pick up a bear can because it is required throughout the Sierra. So be moving from just having the food bag to the bear can. And that's it. This is all of my stuff. It looks like a lot, especially when you're gonna lay it all out. But it's not really a lot. My base weight without food and water, I think it's probably somewhere around 12, 13 pounds. Pretty happy with that. I might try to do a little bit more editing on stuff if I can, but I don't really see a whole lot of areas in which I can trim out. So I think this is pretty much going to be the final loadout. And I think last thing is I'll pack this stuff up, show you how it looks in the pack. Great. So this is it. Everything's packed up, ready to go. Put my little power bank away, but yeah, solar panel, little sit pad, poles, water, more water, first aid, couple of towels, little toiletries, a water filter kit, pea stuff, Tyvek, tent stakes, poop kit, ice axe. Everything else is all on the inside. And then my little fanny pack. That's pretty much it. May do some little bits of last minute editing, but I don't think I'll be changing a whole lot of anything. Like I said, I'm pretty comfortable with what I've got and kind of just ready to go at this point. So we fly out in a week from today and then hit the trail a week after that. So yeah, it's gonna be awesome, and can't wait to get out there. It's a big deal. All right, check y'all out there.